Chapter 962. You guys want to go to war with this kind of attitude? Jingyu looked at the group of people with disdain and said, if you guys go to war with this kind of attitude, there's only one word for it, death. That's 2 words. Shangguan Linglan, who was standing at the side, silently uttered a sentence. Jingyu glared at Shangguan Linglan. Can't you see that I'm building up my momentum? Don't interrupt me. Here, I'm going to train you guys into a real army. Jingyu took a deep breath and said to the group, the training will last for a month. If anyone can't meet my requirements, they will be eliminated. Those who are eliminated are losers. They are weaklings. Do you guys want to be weaklings? Jingyu squinted at the group of people and said coldly, I, Jingyu, don't want trash and don't want weaklings. If you can't meet my requirements, get lost. Boss, we've all lived our lives on the edge of the blade. It's just training, there's no problem. Li Chong stepped forward and shouted, Hee, it's too early to say this. Jingyu smiled calmly and said to the group of people, now, I'm going to split you into 5 teams and appoint 5 people to be your team leaders. Anyone can be a team leader. As long as you show your results, the first place will be the team leader. Other than that, the team members can challenge the team leader. If they win, they will be the team leader. Jingyu smiled and said to the group, whether or not I can keep my team leader position will depend on you guys. Now, let's split you into teams. Jingyu squinted her eyes and quickly formed 5 teams. Each team had 37 people, and 2 people could choose a team to join. There were a total of 187 people. Team 1, Team 2, Team 3, Team 4, Team 5. These are your names now, Jingyu said. As long as you pass my training, you can be called the Mahist Cavalry. Only then are you worthy of wearing the Mahist Cavalry's uniform. Raise the Mahist Cavalry's flag. At that time, let the Black Cheelance banner be famous throughout the continent. Are you ready? All right. Everyone's eyes lit up with passion, and they were all extremely excited. It was as if they could see how powerful they were. Jingyu's eyes revealed a faint smile. The team leader selection starts tomorrow. As for today, Jingyu raised her eyebrows and said, clear the grass and chop down all the trees. Then, Li Weiming, use your stone sword. Set down the tree that was turned into a wooden stake. Over there, use the gunny sacks that were prepared earlier. Pack all the sand. Jingyu commanded everyone to start cleaning. This originally picturesque place had been turned into a complete mess. Everyone finally understood why Jingyu wanted them to take a good look at the scenery. If they didn't take a good look at it, they wouldn't be able to see it anymore. Everyone was in full swing. They chopped down trees and cut wood. These swords that were used to kill people had turned Jingyu into this in the blink of an eye. The Black Cheelance also came in handy. They stomped on the ground and flattened the grass. The wooden stakes were set down, the sandbags were hung up, and the sandpits were dug. This picturesque place had turned into a shoddy training ground in the blink of an eye. Chapter 963. More than 100 people busied themselves with work until midnight. They ate something and fell asleep on the spot. Early in the morning, everyone was still asleep when Jingyu rudely woke them up. Wake up. Don't tell me you don't want it. Jingyu kicked the people who were still asleep awake one by one without hesitation. Boss, you're too cruel. It's not even dawn yet. They had just fallen asleep in the middle of the night, and now they had to wake up at dawn. It was really unbearable. If you don't want to wake up, you can continue to sleep. Jingyu smiled at this person and said, continue to sleep. You don't have to do any more missions. I'll take away that Black Cheelance. Continue to sleep. Continue to sleep. Fuck. Boss, you're killing us. Hearing this, the man jumped up in fright. Without saying a word, he straightened his body. He didn't look like he had just woken up. Oh, how could I bear to kill you all? Jingyu smiled and said, wake up. Go straight from here to the end. There's a fruit tree with red fruits at the top of the cliff. As long as you can pick the fruit and rush back as fast as you can, the top 5 will be the team leaders. Yin Jin and Yin Feng will follow you. If you want to slack off and take the shortcut, don't blame Yin Jin for biting you. Jingyu looked at everyone with a smile. That harmless smile made everyone tremble violently. Their gazes fell on the 2 gray wolves, Yin Jian and Yin Feng. Zhan Qi, ha ha ha. Li Weiming silently called out to Zhan Qi after hearing Jing Yu's words. That arrogant laughter made everyone look at Zhan Qi. Zhan Qi's face turned pale and dark. Finally, he gritted his teeth and said, "It's just picking a fruit. No problem." "Oh right." Jing Yu raised her hand and yawned. "Go run by yourselves. The Black Qilin is resting today." "What?" Everyone was shocked when they heard Jing Yu's words. They stared at Jing Yu with their eyes wide open, hoping that she was joking. However, Jing Yu completely ignored them. "Begin." Jing Yu silently spat out these two words, then turned and left. "What?" Everyone was stunned. "It's starting." Then, Zhan Qi shouted and rushed out. Yin Jian ran quickly in front of him to lead the way. "Fuck." It had begun. "Zhan Qi, you despicable person. Stop." With Zhan Qi's call, everyone reacted and rushed out. Shangguan Linglan also ran out. A large group of people ran forward quickly, with Yin Jian at the front and Yin Feng at the back. From time to time, they would run to the middle, as if they were playing leisurely. Everyone looked at the two big guys, Yin Feng and Yin Jian, and silently swallowed their saliva. Those thoughts in their hearts disappeared without a trace. Besides, they were in the forest. If they wanted to take a shortcut and got lost, wouldn't they die? With this thought in mind, the crowd immediately discarded their thoughts. Jing Yu leisurely sat in the valley and played with the water. She also hunted some wild animals to fill her stomach. She washed her feet by the river and basked in the sun. She was living a very leisurely life. On the other side, everyone ran out. Chapter 964. They were still very excited when they ran out, but after running for a long time, they still didn't reach their destination. Their strength was almost used up, and they were all panting. Yin Arrow squatted in front of them and waited for them. When it was about time, he ran another distance. He sat and waited for them to catch up. This was the first time this group of people experienced what tiredness was. People who had walked on the edge of life and death for a long time felt tired for the first time, but they couldn't give up. There was a deep thought in their hearts, and that was to finish this journey. They persevered again and again, and wanted to give up again and again, but they couldn't give up. This mentality supported them all the time, until the first person saw the fruit tree standing on the cliff. The scarlet fruit made everyone's eyes light up one by one. They stared at the fruit tree with eyes full of excitement. The moment they saw the fruit tree, it was as if the tiredness in their bodies disappeared. Everyone rushed up crazily. No one picked a fruit from the cliff. They didn't even have time to take a breath before they began to run back. Yin Arrow and Yin Feng, the two little ones, were particularly leisurely. They ran for a while and stopped for a while, lazily staring at the people who were about to kneel down and crawl. I can't run anymore." Someone was completely exhausted. He knelt on the ground and panted heavily. His clothes were all wet with sweat. "Look at how scared you are. Look, Fatty Lee is still running." Another person was also bent over. He supported his legs with his hands and panted hard. He wiped the sweat on his face and pointed at the person in front of him and said, with his size, "He's even more tired than you." "Fuck. What medicine did this fatty take today?" That person's eyes suddenly widened when he heard that. He stared at the fatty in front of him who was panting like a cow. "Kid, if you don't work harder, this fatty will be on top of you in the future." That person laughed and said, "I don't expect to be the captain, but I can't be laughed at by these losers. How can I survive in this team in the future? Fuck. I don't believe that I can't beat them." That person raised his hand and wiped the sweat that was about to flow into his eyes. He gritted his teeth and stood up. His eyes bloomed with a fierce light as he said, "Go. Catch up. Ha ha ha. Let's go." Countless scenes like this were being demonstrated. No one was willing to give up. Even if there were people who wanted to give up, they would be encouraged to stand up again by the people around them. Among this group of people, the most worth mentioning was probably Shangguan Linglan. Everyone thought that Shangguan Linglan had only come in for fun. However, he didn't expect that the only person who didn't give up was Shangguan Linglan. That aura made a man feel ashamed of his inferiority. It was probably because Shangguan Linglan knew that she was a woman, but she was unwilling to admit defeat. Who said that women were inferior to men? She wanted to show these people that women were not weak. She ran the same amount of distance as they ran. She held back her energy and ran to the finish line. After picking the fruit, she turned around and ran all the way back. Shangguan Linglan could no longer hear the sounds around her. Her footsteps became extremely weak. In the end, she accidentally tripped on a stone on the side of the road and fell to the ground. The man on the side couldn't stand it anymore. He thought that Shangguan Linglan wouldn't get up again after falling, but he didn't expect that Shangguan Linglan actually stood up with her arms supporting her. Chapter 965. Her petite body was clearly so delicate, but at this moment, all the men were filled with respect for her. The crowd watched quietly as Shangguan Linglan supported her muddy body and ran forward again. She gritted her teeth and passed one man after another. Damn it, I can't lose to a woman. Brothers, charge. One of them looked at Shangguan Linglan's appearance and thought about how he had wanted to give up just now. He suddenly felt a burst of shame in his heart and fiercely gritted his teeth as he shouted, "Stand up. Don't let a woman look down on you." Everyone's eyes were filled with passion. They wiped the sweat off their faces and chased after her. Shangguan Linglan didn't know that her actions had completely aroused these men's unwillingness to admit defeat. The only feeling she had now was that she didn't feel anything. She gritted her teeth and walked forward step by step. There were countless thoughts in her mind that told her not to give up. This was only the first day, and she couldn't hold on? Wouldn't she be laughed at by Jingyu? When Shangguan Linglan thought of this, she clenched her teeth even tighter. She stared at the road under her feet and ran forward step by step. She told herself again and again in her heart that she would be there soon. She just had to hold on a little longer. Everyone was holding on silently as they looked at the road ahead. Their vision was blurred by sweat. In a trance, they seemed to see the mouth of the valley in front of them. Jingyu stood in front of the mouth of the valley with her hands behind her back. Behind Jingyu, countless black Qilins were looking at them. The last step, charge. Jingyu lifted her chin slightly and looked at the figures who were almost supporting each other as they ran forward. She narrowed her eyes and shouted, "Ah!" Li Weiming clenched his teeth and shouted. At the last moment, when he saw the trophy shining at him, Li Weiming closed his eyes and let out a final roar. He mustered all the strength in his body and rushed towards Jingyu, stumbling and stumbling. "Quick! Charge! You are the team leader." Jingyu spurred him on. Li Weiming didn't disappoint and was the first to charge past Jingyu. He crashed into a black Qilin and lay motionless on the ground. "Fuck!" Someone heard Jingyu's words, and his eyes were bloodshot. He ran towards Jingyu with heavy steps. Jingyu stood quietly in place and looked at the people who rushed past her and collapsed behind her. Her eyes were filled with admiration. Shangguan Linglan was a woman after all. Her physical strength couldn't be compared to a man's. Jingyu only saw Shangguan Linglan in the distance after the last group of people. There were a few men behind Shanghai. "Charge!" Jingyu's eyes flashed with a cold light as she shouted. "Phew!" Jingyu looked at the few people who were dragging her down. In the end, they ran past the finish line at the speed of a turtle and fell to the ground, completely motionless. This long-distance race was completely over after the last person ran past the finish line. God, I'm actually still alive. Zhanqi was completely dazed this time. Today's run couldn't be cheated at all. Zhanqi's little cleverness was completely caught off guard. Chapter 966. Not bad, you're all back. Jingyu looked at the people who were either lying or standing on the ground with a faint smile in her eyes. "I'm already half dead." Zhanqi, who was lying on the ground, said quietly. He propped himself up and looked at Jingyu. Then, he asked, Who is the captain? Did I get the captain's position?" "The competition is over." Jingyu raised her eyebrows slightly and said, "The first person to reach the finish line, Li Weiming, will be the captain of the first team. The second, Li Chong, will be the captain of the second team. The third team's captain, Song Qingying, the fourth team's captain, Tang Cheng, the fifth." Jingyu paused slightly when she said this. Everyone looked over and stared at Jingyu nervously. "The fifth team's captain, Sieku. Jingyu slowly said a name. Suddenly, everyone wailed and fell to the ground. Ah, my captain. Zhanqi lay on the ground like a dead dog and didn't move. Ha ha ha. Zhanqi, your captain will treat you well. Li Weiming stood up, raised his hand and rotated his wrist joint. The words he said made Zhanqi twitch. Then, Zhanqi suddenly jumped up and stared fiercely at Li Weiming. He said, "Just you wait. I'll get the captain back sooner or later." Ha ha ha. Bring it on. I'll wait. Li Weiming laughed loudly. His eyes were filled with fighting spirit. When everyone heard the conversation between the two, their eyes lit up. That's right. It didn't matter if the captain wasn't taken today. There was still a month's time. There was still a chance to get it back. Thinking of this, everyone started rubbing their hands together. In this quiet valley, in the depths of the forest, such a team quietly grew up. The shirtless men were wiping away the tears on their bodies as they carried sandbags. They looked at Blockhead and shouted commands as they trained in this valley. This month, for the first time, they learned what training was, what being a team was, and what being alive was. Jingyu and Shangguan Linglan both joined in the training. Jingyu used her ability to conquer this group of men. Their physical training improved day by day. At the beginning, they were exhausted, but towards the end, they were almost obsessed. The journey of picking fruits could now be easily completed by running while carrying weights. They never thought that one day they would have such achievements. During this series of training, Jingyu didn't idle. While she taught everyone, she also trained. Shangguan Linglan gritted her teeth and persevered. Jingyu was very surprised by her ruthlessness towards herself. The group of men saw that the two women were so powerful. No matter what, they couldn't be worse than the women. Thus, they began to increase the strength of their training. From the very beginning, they still needed Jingyu to supervise the training. But now, Jingyu didn't say a word, and everyone could train on their own. Yin Jian and Yin Feng seemed to have become coaches as well. Every day, they squatted on the cliff and watched everyone. If they saw someone slacking off, they would jump down the mountain and shout fiercely. They would chase after that person and forcibly increase the speed of those people who were originally dragging them down. This action also caused everyone to look at Yin Jian and Yin Feng as if they had seen ghosts. They were even scarier than when they saw Jingyu. They absolutely didn't dare to slack off. Chapter 967. Half a month had passed in the blink of an eye. In this half a month, the physical training for everyone had finally reached its peak. The continuous high-intensity training for half a month had simply tortured everyone to the point that they were dying of thirst. The training for the Black Qilin had finally begun. Your training ground will be the entire Roman forest. On a huge rock, Jingyu stood with her hands behind her back. She narrowed her eyes and scanned the people below her. She looked at everyone with a faint coldness in her eyes. The Black Qilin is your partner and the person you will be fighting side by side with in the future. You will need to work closely together. Jingyu narrowed her eyes slightly. She jumped down from the huge rock and sat on the Black Qilin. She demonstrated all sorts of riding skills in front of everyone. There are more things that you will need to do on your own. I hope that you will be the most elite cavalry on the Black Qilin. Off the Black Qilin, you will definitely be ferocious killers. Jingyu looked coldly at the crowd and said, "The Black Qilin will protect you, and you will definitely not abandon it." Yes. Over 100 people responded loudly, startling a flock of birds in the forest. Very good, let's go. At Jingyu's command, everyone mounted the Black Qilin and galloped into the forest. Half a month of training had strengthened the ferocious aura in their bodies. They had worn away the desire to go out alone, and the sense of teamwork had been deeply ingrained in their hearts. Jingyu looked at these people and felt comforted in her heart. It was not easy to train a team, but it was even harder to train people's hearts. These people had everything that Jingyu wanted. The only thing they lacked was their strong sense of independence. Jingyu wanted to wear down their sense of independence and make them realize the importance of teamwork. They seemed to have understood this principle now, but they had not experienced killing in actual combat, so they were not completely sure. What she needed to do now was to make them perfect with the Black Qilin. 1 month later, when they stepped out of this forest, What they needed to do was to kill endlessly and spread the name of the Mahist cavalry. Jingyu. Shangguan Linglan slowly walked over. Her petite figure was also dressed in black, and her ponytail was tied up high. She wrapped the metal piece around her hand as she looked at Jingyu and asked with a smile, "Is it really okay for them to stay in the forest? What problem could there be?" Jingyu's lips curled up slightly as she said indifferently, "If you can't even deal with the wild beasts in this forest, do you think you can survive against an army? TSK. It's their fate to meet someone as vicious and merciless as you." Shangguan Linglan smiled faintly and shook his head. Chapter 968. The two of them sped through the forest. When they reached their destination, they dismounted from the black Qilin and walked deeper into the forest. "There are a lot of yellow deer in this area. Let's go deeper." Jingyu led Shangguan Linglan deeper into the forest. As soon as Jingyu finished speaking, the two of them turned a corner and saw the yellow deer eating grass behind a tree. "We struck gold. There's a group of them." Jingyu crouched down to the side. Shangguan Linglan looked at the group of about 5 or 6 yellow deer and smiled. He carefully lowered his body and squatted down beside Jingyu. Jingyu narrowed her eyes at the group of yellow deer and turned to Shangguan Linglan to ask, "Hehe, do you have the ability to take down 2? 3. Shangguan Linglan's lips curled into a cold smile as she looked at Jingyu with confidence. "Oh, you're that confident?" Jingyu raised her eyebrows slightly and looked at Shangguan Linglan. "Then let's make a bet. Let's see who can take down 3 of these 5 yellow deer." "Let's do it." Shangguan Linglan didn't want to admit defeat. He raised his hand and took down the longbow on his back. He took out 3 arrows and looked at Jingyu provocatively. Jingyu naturally couldn't be weak and took out 3 arrows as well. The two of them looked at each other and spread out in different directions. Jingyu walked to the left while Shangguan Linglan crouched down and walked to the right. The two of them surrounded the yellow deer. In the quiet forest, the surroundings were very quiet. It looked as if nothing had happened. The group of yellow deer were eating grass with their heads lowered. They would occasionally look around, as if they were on guard against something, but they didn't see anything. Then, he squatted down to eat the grass. Everything seemed to be very harmonious. However, at this time, a yellow deer suddenly raised its head, its ears twitching as if it had heard something. Just as the yellow deer was about to run, 6 arrows filled with intense killing intent suddenly flew out from the dense forest. He ruthlessly stabbed towards the direction of the yellow deer. Almost in the blink of an eye, the cries of the yellow deer could be heard. Without even taking a step, the 5 yellow deer all fell to the ground. This scene was so shocking. "Aha!" Jingyu leaped out from the bushes and revealed herself. Shangguan Linglan also stepped out, and the two of them walked to the side of the herd of yellow deer. They looked at the 5 fallen yellow deer and saw that one of them had 2 arrows stuck in its body. "Linglan, your arrow missed." Jingyu and Shangguan Linglan squatted beside the 2 yellow deer and looked at the 2 arrows stuck in its body. One was stuck in its thigh, and the other was stuck in its throat. Obviously, the arrow stuck in its throat was Jingyu's arrow. There was a clear mark on it. "I still lost to you." Shangguan Linglan saw this scene and frowned slightly. He shook his head helplessly and said, "It's still a little difficult to control 3 arrows. I can't control the balance." "Linglan, it's your heart that's not steady." Jingyu slowly stood up and lifted her hand to remove the arrow from the yellow deer's body. She said calmly, "If your killing intent is too strong and your attention is focused on one spot, I think your arrow will be stuck in your throat." Shangguan Linglan looked at Jingyu with a puzzled expression. There was a questioning look in his eyes. "Do you know what I was thinking when I released the arrow?" Jingyu looked up slightly at Shangguan Linglan and asked, "Weren't you thinking about how to hit these 3 yellow deer?" Shangguan Linglan looked at Jingyu and asked. Chapter 969. No. Jingyu shook her head in amusement and said, "What I'm thinking is that we have to kill these 3 yellow deers." The 2 sentences had the same meaning, but they were different ways of saying it. The things they expressed were also different. After Jingyu plucked out all the arrows, she turned to look at Shangguan Linglan and said, Treat them as enemies you have to kill. I believe you can do it. Kill. Shangguan Linglan lowered his head and stared at the yellow deer at his feet. He frowned slightly, as if he was thinking hard about Jing Yu's words. 5 yellow deers were enough for their group to have a meal. Jing Yu and Shangguan Linglan took out the ropes hanging from their waists and tied the yellow deer up. Then, they threw them onto the back of the black Qilin and slowly walked towards the main road. The two of them chatted and laughed as they walked. However, not long after they started walking, the two of them suddenly stopped. They heard the sound of horse hooves not far away. When they heard the sound, Jing Yu and Shangguan Linglan's eyes widened. Why would someone come here, and on a horse at that? The two of them stopped and turned to look. When they saw the person coming from afar, they immediately relaxed their brows. That wasn't the sound of horse hooves. It was the sound of the black Qilin's footsteps. The person riding the black Qilin was none other than Li Weiming. Boss. Li Weiming probably didn't expect to meet Jing Yu and Shangguan Linglan here. His eyes flashed with surprise. Then, his gaze landed on the yellow deer on the back of the black Qilin behind Jing Yu and Shangguan Linglan. His eyes immediately lit up. So boss is here to hunt. Hee, there's meat to eat tonight. Li Weiming's eyes lit up as he laughed. Jing Yu and Shangguan Linglan watched Li Weiming walk over, and then saw that there was another person sitting behind Li Weiming. Oh yes, Xing Er said he was looking for boss. I happened to bump into him, so I brought him over to boss. Li Weiming tilted his head slightly and saw Xing Er jump off the black Qilin. Then, he remembered and told Jing Yu. Madam, Miss Shangguan. Xing Er bowed slightly to Jing Yu and Shangguan Linglan after he jumped off the black Qilin. Xing Er? Why are you here? Jing Yu frowned slightly when she saw Xing Er arrive. Her eyes flashed with a hint of seriousness as she asked, Did something happen in Jinling Town? No. Xing Er shook his head slightly and said, Master asked me to report to Madam that he is safe. Jing Yu responded in confusion when she heard Xing Er's words. Everything is fine in Jinling Town. Everything is going according to plan. Xing Er paused slightly and said, According to the reports, Nanli and Cebu have a plan to find another way to attack Jinling. Master asked Madam to take action. Jing Yu immediately understood what Xiao Chun was trying to convey when Xing Er finished speaking. The other countries had no idea that Jing Yu was secretly training such a team. If they used this opportunity to find out about the other countries, they could ambush them. I got it. Jing Yu's eyes lit up. She nodded slowly and said, In that case, let's go back to the valley first. Hee. Boss, I'll go back first. Li Weiming said goodbye to Jing Yu and left on the black Qilin. Jing Yu and Shangguan Linglan chatted with Xing Er as they walked back to the valley. Chapter 970. Along the way, Jing Yu roughly understood the current situation in Jinling Town. Xing Er gave her a brief explanation. Jinling Town was now impregnable. No matter how much they cursed, they didn't go out to fight. They would occasionally harass them, but the war never broke out. Xiao Chun was probably waiting for Jing Yu to make a move. What are the 4 countries like now? Jing Yu asked as she walked forward. Tokyo and Nanli are fighting fiercely. Second interrogation officer frowned slightly and said, But the 4 countries have not joined forces. They are all on their own. It is precisely because of this that the Great War has not broken out. The people of each country want to see the other take the lead. Haha, as expected. When Jing Yu heard Xing Er's words, her eyes became cold. She said indifferently, They all want to sit on top of the mountain and watch the tigers fight. Everyone wants to make a move, but they are afraid of the other side launching a surprise attack. That's why they haven't made a move yet. Yes, that's right. If we don't take the initiative, this war will drag on forever. Xing Er nodded. Is that so? Jing Yu narrowed her eyes and said, There will be a time when they can't wait. If they can't do it openly, then they will do it secretly. Maybe they will secretly attack Jinling. We need to pay close attention to their actions. Yes, subordinate understands. Xing Er bowed. Aya, whatever. With Xiao Chun here, they won't be able to make a move here for now. Jing Yu raised her head slightly and said with a smile, Second interrogation officer, you'll be in charge of receiving the news. Make sure that the first piece of news can reach here quickly so that it's easier for us to take action. Yes. Xing Er's expression became serious as he bowed. Jingyu asked a few more questions about Xiao Qin's situation. She was finally satisfied and brought Shangguan Linglan and Xing Er back to the valley. They lit a few bonfires by the river and started to roast the deer. There's not enough firewood. They were roasting 5 venison, and the firewood was indeed not enough. Jingyu looked at the situation and immediately shouted, "I'll go find some." Shangguan Linglan stood up and walked out of the valley. "How much can you move by yourself?" Second interrogation officer, "Don't just stand there. Go and help Linglan carry more back." Jingyu frowned slightly as she called out while cleaning up another yellow deer. "Yes." Xing Er silently responded. He stood up and followed behind Shangguan Linglan. Shangguan Linglan glanced at Xing Er and didn't say anything. He turned and walked out of the valley. Jingyu looked at Shangguan Linglan and Xing Er's backs as they left. A faint smile appeared in her eyes. Just as Jingyu was happily washing the deer, a cheerful wolf's howl suddenly came from the cliff. Jingyu looked up and saw Yin Feng's body leaping down from the cliff and landing on the other side of the river. "Yin Feng, why did you come back?" Jingyu looked at Yin Feng, who had jumped over a rock and ran to her side. She shook the water in her hand and looked at Yin Feng in confusion. She smiled and said, "You've learned to slack off?" "Haha, that's true. Only Yin Jian is passionate about such things." Jingyu cut off a piece of meat and threw it to Yin Feng. She said, "Eat some snacks first. The good stuff can only be eaten later." "Oh, whoa." Yin Feng called out, his voice full of joy. He ate the meat in big bites and laid on the riverside, staring at the bottom of the river as he began to catch fish for fun. When his body suddenly swooped down, there was a fish in his mouth when he came up again. Chapter 971. "Not bad, young man. You're so good at catching fish." Jingyu looked at the fish in Yin Feng's mouth and smiled faintly. Yin Feng glanced at Jingyu proudly and began to eat the fish. Jingyu continued to clean the 5 yellow deer. The first one that was cleaned had already been placed on the fire rack and began to roast. "Yin Feng, go add some firewood." Jingyu cut open yellow deer's stomach as she called out to Yin Feng, who was beside her. "You're not allowed to eat." Jingyu paused for a moment and added without turning her head. Yin Feng had just opened his mouth and almost bit the leg of the yellow deer. But when he heard Jingyu's words, he immediately retracted his mouth with an aggrieved expression. Jingyu's eyes were full of smiles when she heard his groaning. She turned her head to look at Yin Feng, who was silently holding a few pieces of firewood in his mouth and throwing them into the fire. That unhappy little face of his was really amusing. "Fuck, I smell meat." Just as Jingyu was cleaning up the yellow deer, an excited voice rang out from outside the valley. "Are you a dog? Your nose is so sharp." Another voice scolded. "Ha ha ha. The brigade didn't lie after all. Boss really gave us meat to eat." Noisy voices rang out continuously. When Jingyu heard these voices, she didn't need to think to know that the brigade was back. "Oh woo." Yin Feng howled. After pausing for a few seconds, a response rang out from outside the valley. Jingyu stood up and turned around to see that everyone had returned. Jingyu didn't know whether to laugh or cry when she saw the mud all over their bodies. "Did you all take a bath in the mud?" Jingyu watched helplessly as everyone poured into the valley. The originally peaceful valley became exceptionally noisy because of everyone's return. It was as if the atmosphere in the valley had risen in an instant. "Boss, don't say any more." Upon hearing Jingyu's question, everyone immediately chimed in. "If it weren't for Zhan Qi, that brat, who brought us back through the shortcut to eat meat, we wouldn't have almost been buried in that damn swamp. Can you blame me for this?" When Zhan Qi heard that, she immediately jumped out and said, "You guys were the ones who asked me to take you on a shortcut, saying that you wanted to rush back to eat meat. Now you're blaming me. This is outrageous." You." The man was about to say something when Jingyu raised her hand and said, "That's enough. Go wash up in the river and get ready for dinner." "All right, I won't lower myself to your level." The man shook his head and jumped into the river. "All of you, go wash up in the river. Do you still want to eat meat?" Jingyu's face darkened as she glared at the man who jumped down without saying a word. "Ha ha ha. Boss, Let's let Fatty's team eat this deer. It's meat made from the bathwater. Li Weiming's team looked at the man who jumped down and laughed. I wonder what it tastes like. Tai Tu muttered to himself. Pfft. Ha ha ha. Tai Tu, go and try it. Everyone burst into laughter when they heard that. In an instant, all sorts of laughter rang out in the valley. The people who were drenched from washing walked onto the shore naked. Then, they casually hung their clothes on a tree branch and walked towards the deer meat. Chapter 972. Hee hee. Boss, is this cooked? Tai Tu took a quick shower and swallowed his saliva. He pointed at the venison and asked Jingyu with a grin. It's not cooked yet. I'll have diarrhea if I eat it. Let's wait for a while. Jingyu rolled her eyes at Tai Tu. Tai Tu was famous for being a glutton. The first thing he considered when he saw something was whether it was edible or not. Jingyu was speechless at this point. Everyone played around while waiting for the meat to be cooked. Second Xing and Shangguan Linglan, who had been gone for half a day, finally returned with firewood. I was wondering why the two of you didn't come back after such a long time, Jingyu quickly said when she saw the two of them. Don't just sit there. Come and light this fire and roast this deer on the rack. Coming. When everyone heard Jingyu's call, they all stood up and started the fire. Everyone worked together to skewer the venison on the barbecue rack. The night gradually darkened. Everyone was looking forward to the arrival of the night. The barbecued meat was finally ready to be eaten. Everyone who was starving started to eat and drink. There was no more wine to drink, but the water pipe was full. Everyone ate the venison, drank the spring water, and listened to the funny jokes. The valley was filled with laughter. Jingyu sat in the middle of everyone and watched them sing and dance. She laughed so hard that the muscles on her face were about to cramp. The wine wasn't intoxicating, but one was intoxicated. Everyone's cheeks were dyed red. They had never thought that there would be a day when they could sit together like this. Only now did they know what it meant to be brothers. That very deep feeling was quietly engraved in everyone's hearts, causing everyone's hearts to be stirred up. The night breeze swept by. Shangguan Linglan nibbled on the venison and walked towards the river. She sat on a rock and raised her hand to stroke Zhonghua's head. From time to time, she would feed Zhonghua some food. There was a faint smile in her eyes. Just as Shangguan Linglan was eating, he suddenly heard footsteps behind him. He thought it was Jingyu, but when he turned around and saw who it was, his body froze. He silently turned around and continued eating. Xing Er sat down beside Shangguan Linglan silently. When he saw Shanghai Linglan feeding Zhonghua, he raised his eyebrows and asked, "You're not afraid of it? It won't bite me. Why should I be afraid of it?" Shangguan Linglan finished the venison in his hand. After feeding Zhonghua, he stood up and squatted by the river to wash his hands. He looked at the sparkling river and sighed. "Xing Er, why do you keep following me?" Shangguan Linglan stood up and stared at Xing Er. "Nothing. I just wanted to follow you." Xing Er was silent for a moment before replying, "Stop following me. I don't like it." Shangguan Linglan frowned and said. When Xing Er heard Shanghai Linglan's words, his expression changed. He frowned slightly and stared at Shanghai Linglan. "You hate me? I don't hate you." Shangguan Linglan replied. "Then it means you like me." Before Shanghai Linglan could finish his sentence, Xing Er finished his sentence. Shanghai Linglan's eyes widened. "I like to follow you." Without waiting for Shangguan Linglan to speak, second interrogation officer spoke again. His words made Shangguan Linglan's heart tremble slightly. In a trance, it was as if something had quietly sprouted from the ground. Chapter 973. Blockhead. Shangguan Linglan's heartbeat quickened. He turned to leave, but Xing Er quickly grabbed Shangguan Linglan's wrist. Shanghai Linglan's heart skipped a beat. He turned to look at Xing Er. "Can I follow you?" Xing Er looked at Shanghai Linglan and asked seriously. "I don't care if you follow me or not." Shanghai Linglan shook off Xing Er's hand and ran away with a red face. Xing Er stood there and watched as Shanghai Linglan ran away. He clenched his fists and a faint smile appeared on his calm face. The training continued every day. Everyone became more and more skilled at controlling the Black Qilin. Jingyu asked Xing'er to go outside the forest and bring a cart of bows and arrows. Everyone was trained in archery. The month-long training slowly came to an end. Jingyu had seen these people grow up with her own eyes. Now, they had finally become a powerful army. With this foundation, the following things would be much simpler. While the training continued, news came from outside the forest. Nanli and Tokyo's troops couldn't wait any longer. They decided to take a detour and attack the other side of Jinling. This news immediately reached Jing Yu's ears. Are they finally going to make a move? Jing Yu's eyes lit up. She rubbed her chin and said, "It seems that they will leave the mountain after the last day of training tomorrow. I want to see what kind of commotion they will cause when they leave the mountain." Shangguan Linglan's expression changed when he heard Jing Yu's words. His face was filled with anticipation. Hanzhong was filled with excitement. Jing Yu gathered everyone in one place. Everyone's eyes were on Jing Yu. Jing Yu's gaze swept across everyone's faces. After a month, Jing Yu remembered everyone's faces. Jing Yu's heart trembled when she looked at everyone. Everyone, the month-long training is finally coming to an end. I'm very happy to see all 187 of you standing here. I'm also sad because from today onwards, the path that belongs to all of you has finally opened. Jing Yu lowered her eyes slightly. Her pair of pitch-black eyes instantly turned into a resplendent gold. Under the sunlight, they emitted an intense glow. Do you know who the enemy you will face when you leave this place is? The corners of Jing Yu's mouth curled into a smile as she said indifferently, "From the moment you chose to stand on my side, from the moment you acknowledged my pair of eyes, what you have to deal with is that you have to become enemies with the entire world. The armies of the 4 countries are waiting for you outside this forest." Jing Yu's face was filled with hostility. She said, "I want to know what your thoughts are now. Kill, kill, kill." Everyone's eyes burned with passion when they heard Jing Yu's words. They raised their hands and shouted loudly. "The reason why I trained you is very simple." Jing Yu stood with her hands behind her back. She looked at everyone calmly and said, "You know my goal. All I want to do is to kill. It was revenge. To protect the people I want to protect. Only slaughter. If the world can't tolerate me, I will kill everyone in the world." Under the scorching sun, Jing Yu's black clothes appeared like thick ink. Her golden eyes caused one's heart to violently tremble. The words that she spat out caused everyone's eyes to be filled with murderous intent. Chapter 974. Where there's killing, there's life and death. The winner takes all. That's the rule of this world. Jing Yu took a deep breath and looked at everyone. If you step out of here today, you might not be able to come back in the next year. Are you all prepared? Boss, we're not afraid of death. Among the crowd, a voice rang out. Instantly, everyone's voice rang out. Good. Jing Yu smirked and looked at everyone silently. But I don't want to see you die. Mahist cavalry. Jing Yu spat out these 3 words. She closed her eyes slightly and opened them slowly. Today, you all deserve this name. I also hope that you can make this name known to the world. Don't let down the name Mahist cavalry. Yes. In the valley, the sound of the waterfall crashing down was loud, but at this moment, it was drowned out by the roars of these 187 people. Everyone could hear this loud and clear sound in their ears. This is the last training session. What you have to do is also the last battle for the position of captain. Jing Yu looked at everyone and said slowly, "The same rules, the same route. The first 5 to arrive will be the captain." Roar, roar, roar. Everyone roared in agreement. This month, the battle for the position of captain was the most intense, and this was the last chance to fight for it. The same route, the same rules. From here to the cliff to pick the fruits, the first 5 to return the fastest would be the captain. It was also morning. This time, there was no need for Jing Yu to wake them up. Everyone was already gathered at the entrance of the valley. 5 groups of people were eyeing each other covetously, waiting for Jing Yu's command. Everyone rushed out of the valley and madly rushed towards the road in front of them. It wasn't as difficult as the first time. Now, to them, Running this distance was really nothing. It wasn't difficult at all. Now, it was a real battle between opponents. Everyone was running with all their might for the last battle for the position of captain. Madam, you're amazing. Second Xing watched as these people rushed out. Over the past half a month, he had felt a deep sense of shock from the bottom of his heart. If he were to train these 187 people, he didn't think he could do it. It was impossible for so many people to reach such a level in such a short period of time. The kind of transformation that came from the bones made Xing Er extremely shocked. Now you know how powerful I am. When Jing Yu heard Xing Er's words, a faint smile appeared in her eyes as she said, "The best is yet to come. Why don't you say this in the future?" Jing Yu's confidence, which came from the bottom of her heart, made Xing Er narrow his eyes. He was suddenly quite expectant. The final result was obvious. Li Weiming's position as the leader was quite stable. Li Chong was also stable in second place. Zhan Qi didn't want to admit defeat and took third place. What surprised Jing Yu the most was that the fourth place was snatched away by Tai Tu. The fifth place was Xieku. Xieku was a person who didn't like to talk. She looked very shy, but her fierceness couldn't be ignored. Jing Yu also had a very deep impression of Xieku. Very good. It seems that the leaders of the 5 groups have all been decided. Jing Yu looked at everyone who had returned. Her eyes revealed a faint smile as she said, "Now, those who want to change teams can do so. From tomorrow onwards, you can no longer move after leaving this valley." Chapter 975. The team's honor is your honor. After we leave this place, your team's results will speak for you. Jing Yu narrowed her eyes and said, "If the team's results drop, the team leader will be punished. Of course, your team leader can also punish you." Everyone's eyes widened. The 5 team leaders had been happy that they had become team leaders, but after hearing Jing Yu's words, they all widened their eyes in shock and looked at Jing Yu in disbelief. "What are you all for?" Jing Yu said calmly, "The teams will be ranked from now on. The team with the best results will enjoy the best equipment and weapons. The team in 5th place will wash everyone's clothes for a month. Of course, that includes socks." "Fuck. Boss. You're too ruthless." When everyone heard Jing Yu's words, they all widened their eyes in shock and stared at Jing Yu with their mouths twitching. "Hee. The team in 1st place will be rewarded with 10 taels of gold each." Jing Yu laughed coldly and threw out this sentence. Instantly, everyone went crazy and jumped up in excitement. Boss, gold? 10 taels of gold? Everyone was afraid that Jing Yu had said something wrong and their faces were all red with excitement. They looked at Jing Yu and asked again. "Yes, gold. 10 taels." Jing Yu nodded firmly. "Fuck. Our team must get 1st place." Zhan Qi was the first to go crazy. "Fuck you. Our team is 1st. Li Weiming also shouted, not to be outdone. In an instant, the place was in chaos. Jing Yu looked at everyone who was rubbing their fists and rubbing their palms, ready to fight. She laughed and said, "Whether or not you can get 1st place will depend on whether your team members will drag us down. You can take care of yourselves, but don't forget your brothers. You guys, all of you, listen up. If anyone dares to drag us down, I'll fucking make you drink the water that I wash my feet with." Li Weiming suddenly turned around and roared at the crowd behind him. "Team leader, no." When everyone heard Li Weiming's words, their expressions changed and they stared at Li Weiming with resentment. Was the water that humans could drink? If they drank it, it would probably be more poisonous than poison. They would die at any moment. "Get your fucking spirits. Do it. Kill them all." Zhan Qi said sinisterly, "Do you want to see our team leader wash our smelly socks?" "Yes." The members of Team 3 immediately shouted. Just thinking about that scene made them feel so good. "Then suppress them for me." Zhan Qi shouted loudly. Roar, roar, roar. For a moment, even Jing Yu couldn't control the situation at the scene. She had to shout a few times before she managed to suppress the hot-bloodedness of the crowd. Second Xing Er and Shangguan Linglan were shocked when they saw how Jing Yu had built a super strong team with just a few words. After everyone had finished organizing and confirming, Jingyu called everyone back to the valley. She called the 5 team leaders to her side and found an empty spot on the sandy ground by the river to squat down. You guys understand the situation now. What we need to do is to stop Tokyo and Nanli's actions. Jingyu explained the situation briefly. She looked at Li Weiming and the others and said, "This is our first battle. Not only must we must win beautifully." Chapter 976. Boss, tell us what you want us to do. Li Weiming looked up at Jingyu. His eyes were burning with passion. According to our sources, the Tokyo is the most impatient. Let's fight them first. Jingyu's lips curled up. She picked up a tree branch and started drawing on the ground. This is where we are now. This is Jinling Town. The Tokyo's troops are stationed in this direction. The Tokyo wants to attack Jinling. They can't enter through a direct attack, so they want to take this route and circle around to the back of Jinling. What we need to do is to kill them all along the way. Jingyu drew a simple map stroke by stroke. Looking at the crowd, she smiled and said, "The person leading the team this time is Xiao Jingran. Based on my understanding of Xiao Jingran, he must think that his plan is flawless. The team that is moving is definitely the main force. It is very likely that Xiao Jingran is personally leading the team. SSS, doesn't that mean the attack will be very difficult?" Li Weiming frowned when he heard that Xiao Jingran was leading the troops. "Humph, the enemy is in the open while we are in the dark. Can't we kill them?" The corners of Jingyu's mouth curled into a cold arc as she said indifferently, "The first thing we need to do is figure out their path of advance, set up an ambush in advance, and then surround and kill this army in one fell swoop." "Yes," Li Weiming and the others replied solemnly when they heard Jingyu's words. "Xing'er, find out how many troops the Tokyo sent out this time. Give us a few routes. Everyone, pack up and set out." Jingyu stared at everyone and said coldly. Everyone nodded, stood up, and left. "Ah, the battle we have been waiting for is finally here." Jingyu was a little excited. She smiled faintly and raised her hand to pat Jian and Feng's heads. "I wonder what it will be like when I leave the mountain this time." "The world is in chaos." Shangguan Linglan, who was standing by his side, silently spat out these words. "You have a part in the chaos too." Jingyu's face darkened as she glared at Shangguan Linglan. "I like it." Shangguan Linglan responded with a smile. She patted Zhang Hua's head and said, "Let's go. Let's go kill people for fun." Jingyu looked at Shangguan Linglan speechlessly. Why did Jingyu feel that Zhang Hua had become someone else's? Now, he was sticking to Shangguan Linglan every day and didn't even care about her, his mother. "You two are the best." Jingyu immediately stood up and hugged the heads of the 2 gray wolves, Jian and Feng. She raised her hand and smoothed their fur, her eyes full of smiles. After everyone was ready, Jingyu also stood outside the valley. She turned around and looked at the valley where she had lived for a month. She sighed slightly and turned around to mount the black Qilin. She raised her head slightly and looked straight ahead. Her eyes were full of expectation. She smiled and said loudly, "Let's go." Under Jingyu's command, a group of more than 100 ink Qilins charged forward without hesitation. This was a battle of life and death. This was a battle to the death. Within the Roman forest, there were trees and grasses everywhere. Within the forest, an army was advancing at a leisurely pace. The faces of the people in the army were rather calm, as though they weren't worried at all about anything happening. After passing through countless shrubs, they finally saw the wide road. Jingyu stopped here and looked up at the dense foliage. She then looked at the bamboo forest in front of her, and a faint smile appeared in her eyes. She turned to the group and asked, "Have you made traps before?" "Hee hee. I'm good at this." Zhanqi chuckled and said loudly, "I've never missed a single thing in my traps." Chapter 978. Come, come, come. There's something we need to do now. Let's make traps. Jingyu smiled coldly and said, "Bring all the wood materials from over there. They're in the bamboo forest. Do whatever I tell you to do. Now, go chop down the trees and bamboo. Hurry up, it's getting dark." Jingyu ordered everyone to start digging and making traps. Everyone shouted and went to chop down the bamboo and big trees. The more people there were, the more efficient it was. Someone to look for rottans, someone to dig holes, and someone to chop down trees. This speed was quite good. Bury it deeper. Don't expose it. Jingyu ordered everyone, looking at this and touching that from time to time. This, hang it up. Hang it high. Jingyu looked at the person who was shorter than her with a dark expression and said, "Shorty, do you think everyone is like you?" Hee hee hee. Boss, if there's someone short, wouldn't he be a fish that escaped the net? When the shorty heard Jingyu call him that, he wasn't angry. Instead, he smiled and looked at Jingyu. Fish that escaped the net? Jingyu smiled indifferently and said, "He dodged this. Do you see over there? That thing can turn him into a beehive." Jingyu said indifferently, and the shorty immediately shut up. "Boss, you're still the schemer." When the people at the side heard Jingyu's words, they felt their hair stand on end. They looked at Jingyu and said indifferently, "Go, go, go. Hurry up and get to work." Jingyu glared at that person and said, "Move faster. Zhanqi, put this thing down." Jingyu saw that Zhanqi was burying bamboo in the pit. She raised her hand and threw a bag of things into the pit. She said, "Before you cover the pit, sprinkle this all over the pit. Don't sprinkle it now. If anything happens, don't blame me for not reminding you." Zhanqi caught the thing that Jingyu threw over, and his face suddenly stiffened. He looked at Jingyu strangely and asked, "Boss, what is this?" "A super powerful aphrodisiac." Jingyu said these words silently. Zhanqi was so scared that he almost dropped the thing in his hand. Just when he wanted to open it, he took it back silently and looked at Jingyu in horror. "Boss, this." Everyone gulped as they looked at Jingyu. "Don't be afraid, don't be afraid. The effect of this drug is only 10 times stronger than that of an ordinary aphrodisiac," Jingyu said with a smile, which almost made Zhanqi kneel down. 10 times. If he really smelled it, wouldn't he instantly do it? Fuck. To provoke my boss, I must have had 8 lifetimes of bad luck. This forest in the middle of nowhere sucked in this thing. Fuck. Just thinking about it made him feel extremely good. After Jingyu's series of actions, everyone looked at Jingyu strangely. They gulped silently and thought to themselves that they must serve Jingyu better in the future. If Jingyu was unhappy and gave you this thing, you would cry to death. By the time everyone worked hard to make this huge cereal trap, the sky was already completely dark. The last step of covering up the trap was basically done in the dark. When Jingyu saw that it was almost done, she chased everyone away. Then, he started to make some strange things in the field. Chapter 979. What do you guys think boss is doing? Everyone was chased far away. They sat on the back of the black Qilin and watched Jingyu jump around in the arena. They asked with their eyes wide open in confusion. "I think." Zhanqi swallowed his saliva and said, "Boss isn't spilling aphrodisiac, right?" The moment Zhanqi said that, the team fell silent. Everyone swallowed their saliva and took a deep breath as they watched Jingyu's actions. Then, they sighed and said, "No matter what, we can't make boss angry in the future. This move is too vicious." Zhanqi suddenly felt uncomfortable all over. He wondered if he had accidentally inhaled the aphrodisiac when he was spilling it. After Jingyu forgot about it, everyone saw that she had returned. When they asked Jingyu what she was doing, Jingyu smiled mysteriously and didn't say anything. When she asked everyone to leave, she tidied up the bent grass in the surroundings. Everything was ready. Now, they just had to wait for the fish to take the bait. Xiao Jingran led his team and walked on the road. He was completely unaware of the great danger waiting for them in front of them. He also did not know what kind of battle they were about to face. Everything was going according to Jingyu's plan. Night fell completely. Jingyu led the group to a place to rest and recuperate, waiting for the arrival of the battle. "Boss, it's so late at night. Do you think they won't stop to rest? Don't tell me. They aren't hungry?" Tai-Tu leaned closer to Jingyu and asked quietly. Jingyu's face darkened when she heard Tai-Tu's words. She said to Tai-Tu, "Do you think everyone is like you?" Ahem. Tai-Tu laughed awkwardly. He raised his hand to touch his head and smiled shyly. Xiao Jingran definitely won't stop. Jingyu narrowed her eyes slightly and said, "If they want to rest, they should rest in the second half of the night. According to the information we received, their team will definitely pass by here tonight." After Jingyu finished speaking, everyone's eyes lit up. Thinking about the traps they had set up, they were filled with anticipation. After a short rest, everyone began to enter the ambush location. "Keep your eyes bright." Jingyu looked around at everyone and said, "Everyone, guard your positions. Also, a friendly reminder, it's best if you cover your noses. If you breathe in something bad, don't come crying to me." Everyone was stunned when they heard Jingyu's words. Without saying a word, they quickly took out a square handkerchief from their arms and covered their faces. If they didn't cover their faces, they would be in big trouble. They also saw Jingyu's actions just now. The pitch-black night was getting deeper and deeper. In this silent forest, everything seemed to have become so quiet. Not far from the foot of the mountain, a long line of people was slowly walking towards the mountain. "Second Prince, it's already late." Chapter 980. But we are marching in the middle of the night. If there is an ambush ahead, then? The lieutenant heard Xiao Jingran's words and frowned worriedly. "Humph," Xiao Jingran snorted. "As long as no one in the army leaked the news, Xiao Chun will never know where we are. Furthermore, didn't we receive news that Xiao Chun is still in Jinling Town, and there are no signs of movement in Jinling Town? Do you think that Xiao Chun can deal with tens of thousands of people by himself?" Xiao Jingran coldly curled the corners of his lips, and his eyes flashed with a cold light. When the deputy general beside Xiao Jingran heard Xiao Jingran's words, his heart, which had been hanging in suspense, also changed slightly. This made sense. If there were no signs of movement, how could the people of Jinling Town ambush them? Could a few hundred people take care of 10,000 people? If that was the case, then it would be a huge joke. But, Second Prince, although the 9th Emperors didn't make a move, you forgot that there is still one more person. The lieutenant looked at Xiao Chun with a serious expression. The 9th Imperial concubine is not in Jinling Town. If she ambushes us, ha ha ha, it would be even better if we met the 9th Imperial concubine in the forest. Xiao Jingran's eyes lit up. He looked at the deputy general and said, "Our first task is to capture the 9th princess. Even if she has the ability to control 2 wolves, do you think that tens of thousands of people are easy to deal with?" Xiao Jingran's lips curled up. If 10,000 people can't capture Jingyu, then what is the point of having a Tokyo army? Yes, yes, yes. You are right, Your Highness. The deputy general nodded and lowered his head without saying anything else. Hee hee. If I can really meet Jingyu, I'm looking forward to it. Xiao Jingran's eyes flashed slightly. He dismounted from his horse and called for the troops to stop. After letting them rest for a while, he announced that they would continue their journey at night. After passing through this forest, they could see a wide road. The most dangerous part of the mountain path had been completed, so Xiao Jingran was even less worried about the rest of the road. He instructed everyone to regroup the team and continue moving forward after they had gathered. "Boss, they're here." A small figure flashed across the ground like a nimble monkey, instantly landing in front of Jingyu. At this moment, Jingyu and Shangguan Linglan were both lying on the grass. When they saw the arrival, their eyes lit up. "Very good. Inform everyone to get ready." The corners of Jingyu's mouth curled up into a sinister smile. She raised her hand to cover her mouth and nose with the veil. Her pair of pitch-black eyes instantly turned dark green. In this dark night, she was like an evil wolf hiding in the dark, eyeing covetously. "Yes," the man responded. His voice contained a hint of excitement. He raised his hand to his mouth and blew into the crisp chirps of a bird. The chirps of the bird were very similar to the sounds of others. It was rapid and clear. In the darkness of the night, it was easy to recognize. Right after the bird's cry faded away, the man's body flashed, and he leaped onto a tree branch. The surroundings returned to silence, and no one would know that there were countless pairs of eyes looking ahead calmly in this forest. Chapter 981. In this dark night, it seemed as though there was not a single person in the forest. However, in reality, there were countless black shadows hiding within the forest. Ta-da-da! The sound of footsteps could be heard. The sound of armor rubbing against each other was very clear. Everyone lowered their bodies slightly. Pairs of pitch-black eyes looked towards the main road. They immediately saw the two people riding horses in front of them. Behind them was a row of soldiers following closely behind. Li Weiming and the rest saw that there were people coming and their eyes instantly lit up. Boss was right. This army was really rushing through the night without any rest. Second Prince, don't you think that our journey has been too smooth? The deputy general was still feeling uneasy. He turned his head and looked at the surrounding bamboo forest. He didn't know why, but he felt that it was a little strange. What? How do you want it to be uneasy? Xiao Jingran was obviously much calmer. The feeling of victory was so obvious. It was as though he was certain that nothing would happen. His slightly narrowed eyes were filled with arrogance. No, I just feel that this Roman forest is known as the largest forest in the entire continent. However, we didn't see any traces of ferocious beasts along the way. It is really strange. The deputy general rode forward while looking at Xiao Jingran and said, After Xiao Jingran heard this, his expression finally changed. He frowned slightly and said, You are right. However, it is said that the ferocious beasts on the outskirts of the Roman forest usually don't appear. It is impossible to see them in the depths of the forest. The path we chose is a smooth path. It is not strange that we don't meet any. Xiao Jingran said indifferently and turned his head again. Is that so? The deputy general still felt that something was wrong. However, when he saw Xiao Jingran's determined expression, he didn't say anything else. He just led the army and slowly stepped into the ancestral bamboo forest. The weak torches lit up the bamboo forest. The wind blew gently and the bamboo leaves rustled. The soldiers were looking around. Xiao Jingran and the deputy general were walking at the front. As soon as they stepped into the bamboo forest, they felt a strange feeling. Stop! Xiao Jingran frowned slightly and raised his hand to stop the group. Everyone stopped and raised their heads in confusion. Don't you feel that the air here seems a little different? As Xiao Jingran said, his nose slightly twitched as he inhaled the dust in the air. At this moment, Xiao Jingran's face changed greatly. Not good. Just as Xiao Jingran finished his sentence, from within the dense bamboo forest, sharp bamboo blades mixed with incomparably sharp killing intent shot towards Xiao Jingran's group mercilessly. There's an ambush. The group of soldiers turned pale with fright. They were caught off guard. The originally peaceful journey was broken, and no one was able to react in time. In this situation where they were not vigilant at all, the first reaction of this group of soldiers was to scatter to the side to avoid the arrows. However, just as these people retreated to the side, the nets that were hidden under the withered leaves were pulled up in an instant. 5 to 6 nets were pulled up in an instant, and those people were directly hung up. Figures stood up from the grass, and the small bamboo behind them fiercely shot towards those people who were hanging in the air, instantly killing them. Chapter 982. Let's go. The deputy general was also stunned by the situation in front of him. He couldn't retreat even if he wanted to, so he could only walk forward. However, the moment he walked forward, it was even worse. The vines that had been hidden under the withered leaves instantly tightened. The person who had just run a few steps suddenly somersaulted down. Before the person behind him could react, he lost his footing and fell into the pit that had been dug earlier. He was stabbed to death by the bamboo in the pit. Xiao Jingran was riding on his horse and wanted to escape, but the horse stepped into the pit. Xiao Jingran's eyes narrowed slightly as he looked at the bamboo that appeared in front of him. He stomped hard and steadily avoided the bamboo. Xiao Jingran slowly heaved a sigh of relief. However, just as he heaved a sigh of relief, he took a deep breath and his expression changed drastically. Damn it! Xiao Jingran crawled out of the pit on all fours. His face was abnormally red. Don't breathe. There's an aphrodisiac in the air. Xiao Jingran suddenly shouted. When everyone heard Xiao Jingran shout, their faces instantly turned pale. No wonder their bodies felt so hot and dry. It turned out that there was an aphrodisiac in the air. Ha ha ha, this is too fun. Shangguan Linglan lay in the grass and watched as these people stepped into the trap step by step without any deviation. He then looked at Xiao Jingran's sorry state and laughed until he was cramping up. Stop laughing. It's our turn. Jing Yu chuckled. Her green eyes flashed and were filled with laughter. All right. Shangguan Linglan arched his eyebrows and said, I've always wanted to see what an assassin looks like. Come. Jing Yu tightened the scarf on her face slightly. She pulled out the dagger in her hand and leaped up. Her pitch-black figure was like a ghost as she instantly moved out and reaped the lives of the people in the field. Her petite body moved among the crowd, and her feet stepped steadily on the ground. She avoided one trap after another and one mechanism after another. The dagger in her hand was like the scythe of the Grim Reaper, mercilessly reaping lives. The boss is really too scary. When the people hiding in the bushes saw this scene, they immediately trembled violently. We were trained by boss. We can't embarrass her. Another person covered his mouth and said, Go. In an instant, another group of black-robed men appeared from the bushes. Each of them held a short dagger in their hands as they charged towards the people in the crowd. Their killing methods were exactly the same as Jing Yu's. Shangguan Linglan had long since been unable to restrain herself and joined the ranks of the killers. Jing Yu's eyes flashed when she saw the crowd joining in. She then moved towards Xiao Jingran. In the dark night, Jing Yu's green eyes were very eye-catching. Xiao Jingran had just dodged a trap when he turned around and saw Jing Yu rushing towards him. His expression changed slightly and his eyes were filled with hostility. It's really you. Xiao Jingran stared coldly at Jing Yu. When he saw Jing Yu's deep and serene eyes and petite body, his eyes flickered. Long time no see, Your Highness. Jing Yu's eyes curved slightly as she looked at Xiao Jingran with pleasure. She then shifted her gaze to Xiao Jingran's crotch and said, Oh, Your Highness, you're in such a good mood. You can even in a place like this. Chapter 983. Jing Yu. Xiao Jingran saw Jing Yu's gaze and heard Jing Yu's words. His face instantly turned red. How could a woman say such things in public and even look in his direction? She was definitely not a woman. Ha ha ha. Jing Yu raised the dagger in her hand and narrowed her eyes at Xiao Jingran as she said, If you want to launch a sneak attack, you must be prepared to be sneak attacked. Damn it. Xiao Jingran felt that the uncontrollable feeling in his body was becoming more and more unbearable. Jing Yu narrowed her eyes and moved with the flow of the river towards Xiao Jingran. At this moment, Xiao Jingran was fighting with all his might. On one hand, he had to dodge the traps and Jing Yu's dagger. On the other hand, he had to use his internal energy to suppress the restlessness in his body. This situation made Xiao Jingran's expression very ugly. In the end, he was battered and exhausted. Jing Yu's dagger was aimed at his vital points. In the beginning, Xiao Jingran was still able to dodge. Towards the end, every time Jing Yu made a move, Xiao Jingran's body would be stained with blood. On the other side, the battle was also in full swing. The assassins in the dark did not linger in the battle. After killing them in one blow, they quickly hid in the bushes and disappeared, just as Xiao Jingran's men were about to chase after them. On the other side, rows and rows of arrows were instantly released towards these people. These arrows came one after another, and Xiao Jingran's people didn't even have time to catch their breath. They didn't know how these people were hiding on top of the bamboo. The swinging ropes wrapped around the people below and accurately looped around their necks. In an instant, they were hung up and stabbed to death one by one. Kill. Countless people died. At this moment, countless torches suddenly lit up in the forest. Everyone stood up one by one, and huge black hirons appeared in front of everyone. Everyone was so shocked that they lost the ability to speak. What the hell was this? All the people that Xiao Jingran brought widened their eyes in horror when they saw the figure that darted out of the forest. They stared in disbelief at the black cheilants that had suddenly appeared. What was even more frightening was that there were people sitting on the black cheilants. Ha ha ha. Kill them. A loud and clear voice rang out. This is the first mission. The ranking is based on the number of people. Brothers, let's work harder. Roar. Kill. The sound of the black cheilans stepping on the ground was very loud. One after another, people riding black cheilants appeared, waving the swords in their hands and rampaging through the crowd. Ah, save me! When Xiao Jingran's army saw these monsters, they were already scared out of their wits. Now, they were completely defeated. Xiao Jingran's face instantly turned pale. While Xiao Jingran was not paying attention, Jingyu flashed and suddenly stabbed at Xiao Jingran. Xiao Jingran was shocked. He turned his body, but Jingyu's dagger cut a deep wound on his arm. Xiao Jingran knew that he had been defeated. If he still wanted to stay, he would never be able to leave again. The deputy general also saw this scene and hurriedly ran to Xiao Jingran's side. He blocked Jingyu for a moment and then dragged Xiao Jingran away. Protect the second prince. The deputy general roared angrily. Some of the soldiers beside him rushed over and surrounded Jingyu. Xiao Jingran covered his injured arm and turned to run into the dense forest. Chapter 984. Giddy up! Xiao Jingran's 10,000 men were all buried in the bamboo forest. Jingyu took the initiative with her terrifying traps and ambushes, taking advantage of the enemy's arrogance to defeat them. Jingyu had the upper hand from the start of this battle. They won. They won beautifully. Where are they? Xiao Jingran ran away, and the rest of the minions almost became the black cheilant's meal. The group killed to their heart's content. When the killing ended, it was almost dawn. Looking at the gray appearance of the ink-black sky, the battle was finally over. We didn't catch them. They ran towards Hook Ridge. Li Weiming wiped the sweat off his face. His neck was stained with blood. The monk can run, but the temple can't. Jingyu smiled faintly and said, I really want to know. How did the hundreds of people who ran away solve their physiological problems? Ah ha 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 ha. After Jingyu finished speaking, everyone instantly understood what Jingyu was talking about. They all burst into laughter. Zhanqi's leg was injured and was bandaging it. When he heard Jingyu's words, he quickly said, dig a hole in the ground and do it like that. Ha ha ha. When everyone heard Zhanqi's words and thought about the scene, they all burst into laughter. What the fuck you are? Can you not apply medicine on me when you're laughing? Everyone was happily talking about all sorts of things. Although everyone was injured, because they had been hiding in the dark, they didn't intervene at all. They only came out to deal with the defeated soldiers at the end, and surprisingly, there were no casualties. How's everyone? Jingyu called the 5 captains to her side and asked. A few of our brothers are seriously injured, but the rest are only lightly injured. Li Weiming lowered his head slightly and said, we don't have the medicine that those brothers wanted, so we need to go into the city to get it. Okay. Jingyu nodded slightly and said, Xiao Jingran ran away. So be it. It's too late to chase after him now. Everyone, rest well. We still have the next step. Last night was just the beginning. All right. Li Weiming and the others agreed one after another. Everyone's eyes were full of light. Obviously, this first victory made them very satisfied. After cleaning up the battlefield, Jingyu buried the corpses on the spot. As for the remaining corpses, she left them for the wild beasts to eat. These matters did not require Jingyu's attention. After a night of tiredness, they finally found a shady place to rest at daybreak. Yin Jian and Yin Feng were lying on the ground. Jingyu leaned against the 2 big guys and closed her eyes slightly. At noon, they felt hungry. Everyone got up and went to the forest to hunt some pheasants and hares. They let everyone fill their stomachs and recover their strength. The forest became lively again. Li Weiming and the others, come here for a moment. Jingyu stretched and called Li Weiming and the other captains over.
Boss.
The five of them stood beside Jingyu. Jingyu sat down on a rock and said, "Sit down. Do you have anything to say about last night's battle?" The five of them looked at each other. Finally, they all frowned and thought about last night's battle. But no matter how they thought about it, they didn't seem to have anything to say. They suddenly lowered their heads awkwardly and didn't say anything. Chapter 985. What would you do if you were asked to go out and fight one by one? Jingyu narrowed her eyes at the two and asked again. The five of them frowned. It didn't seem right to separate the five teams. Or rather, they hadn't thought about how to plan the battle or how to fight. Tell me, do you think you're qualified to be team leaders? Jingyu sighed deeply and said, the most important person in a team is the commander. As team leaders, all you have to do is familiarize yourself with each team member's abilities and discover them. You have to understand that one day, you'll be separated. 5 teams means 5 teams and 5 factions. What would you do if the teams grew stronger in the future? Jingyu narrowed her eyes and looked at Li Weiming's group of 5. What would you do if you were in my position? Jingyu's questions made the 5 of them fall into deep thought. This was the first time they had ever thought about this question. Jingyu's words made Li Weiming's group realize something. Jingyu wouldn't always follow them. Jingyu watched as Li Weiming's group left. She frowned and turned to Xing and asked, Xing, what's the situation with Nanli? Nanli State wants to take a detour to the east side of Jinling to attack. Xing frowned and said, there's a chain bridge here that leads to Jinling. Below it is a river. Nanli's people are much smarter than Xiao Jingran, Jingyu said with a faint smile after thinking about it. When will they take action? Did you hear anything? Jingyu turned to Xing and asked. Not yet, but it should be in the next 2 days. Xing said, there's still some distance from here. Should we take action in advance? Xing looked at Jingyu and asked. There's no rush. Jingyu replied indifferently and said, since they're going to the east, I have another idea. What do you have in mind? Xing looked at Jingyu and asked. Jingyu's eyes lit up as she looked at Xing and asked, I remember you mentioned that the east side is where the Cebu's troops are stationed, right? Yes. Xing nodded and said, the Cebu's troops are stationed in the east. There is a relatively wide plain there. Looking at the Cebu. Just because they aren't making a move doesn't mean I can't. Jingyu smirked and said, I have a plan. Perhaps it can save us some effort. Xing looked at Jingyu in confusion. Jingyu smiled and didn't say anything. Linglan, how's your injury? Jingyu walked to Shangguan Linglan and asked. Shangguan Linglan was sitting on the grass with gauze wrapped around his hand. He was washing the wound on his arm. It's nothing, just a small injury. When Shangguan Linglan heard Jingyu's question, she raised her head slightly and looked at Jingyu. A faint smile appeared on her face as she replied. Let me help you. Xing stood beside Jingyu for a while. Then, he walked to Shangguan Linglan and squatted down. He picked up Shangguan Linglan's hand and carefully washed it for her. Chapter 986. No need. I can. Shangguan Linglan looked at Xing actions, and his heart trembled slightly. He quickly spoke up. Just as he was about to withdraw his hand, Xing tightened his grip. He frowned slightly and looked up at Shangguan Linglan. Shangguan Linglan silently loosened his grip and allowed Xing to apply medicine on his wound. Usually, when Xing applied medicine and bandaged his wounds, he would do it casually and then wrap them up. Now, Xing was cleaning Shangguan Linglan's wounds and applying medicine. His actions were very gentle. Seeing how carefully he approached, Jingyu, who was standing at the side, smiled faintly and the corners of her mouth curled up slightly. Hiss! When Shangguan Linglan was touched by the powder, he frowned and let out a soft cry. Xing was so shocked that he immediately stopped and looked at Shangguan Linglan with a slight frown. He asked carefully, does it hurt? It's fine. Let's bandage it. Shangguan Linglan shook his head and agreed. I told you to hide behind me, but you ignored me. Now you're hurt, aren't you? Second Xing's tone was full of dissatisfaction, but the words he spat out were very ambiguous. Zhang Qi, who had just walked over, saw this scene right away. Cough, 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 cough. Zhang Qi suddenly started coughing violently. Why are you coughing? Are you suffering from tuberculosis? Jingyu originally felt comforted when she saw this scene. This Xing heir seemed to treat Shangguan Linglan well. She felt a little emotional, but when she heard Zhang Qi's coughing, her face darkened and she glared at Zhang Qi and shouted, "Hee hee hee, boss." Zhang Qi chuckled and looked at Jingyu. Then, he straightened his neck and said, I was just shocked by our brother Xing heir. Why haven't I seen him treat us so gently? Oh, look at the way he looks at Miss Shangguan. It's almost dripping water. If you were a woman, I guarantee that Xing heir would treat you the same way. Jingyu said with a faint smile on her face. Io, don't. If I steal brother Xing heir, Miss Shangguan will probably chase me all the way to the west. Ha ha ha. Zhang Qi's teasing words made Shangguan Linglan's cheeks turn red instantly. Zhang Qi, see if this young miss doesn't tear your mouth apart. Shangguan Linglan angrily stood up and chased after Zhang Qi. Oh, to get to the point. Zhang Qi yelled as he ran. Shangguan Linglan stood up and chased after Zhang Qi. Zhang Qi was exceptionally nimble. Shangguan Linglan couldn't catch him. Li Weiming and the other captains were watching from the side. When they saw Zhang Qi running towards them, they expressionlessly stretched out a leg. Zhang Qi, who was running happily, was instantly tripped by this leg. Aya! He lost his balance and fell to the ground. Shangguan Linglan grabbed at Zhang Qi without saying anything. Just as he raised his hand and was about to hit him, a hand suddenly stretched out from behind and grabbed Shangguan Linglan's hand. Let me. Xing heir, who was dressed in black, stood coldly beside Shangguan Linglan. His pair of cold eyes stared at Zhang Qi, who was lying on the ground. His eyes flashed with a dangerous light, which made Zhang Qi feel alarmed. Brother, I was just joking. Ha ha ha. I was just joking. Zhang Qi giggled as he looked at Xing heir. I just wanted to learn from you. Xing heir's expression didn't change at all as he looked at Zhang Qi calmly. Chapter 987. Xiao Jingran looked at everyone in silence, then at the four women lying on the ground. Finally, he closed his eyes and said coldly, Don't be greedy. Stop immediately after the poison is removed. Yes. Everyone heaved a sigh of relief when they heard Xiao Jingran's reply. Xiao Jingran walked forward silently, picked up one of the women, and turned around to hide in the bushes. When everyone saw Xiao Jingran's actions, they couldn't hold themselves back and rushed forward. In just a few moments, the forest was filled with shouts that made everyone's ears turn red. At this moment, Xiao Jingran had never been so hateful. He shook his body violently and looked at the woman lying under him as if he was looking at Jingyu. Jingyu, one day, I will make you kneel in front of me and beg for mercy. When the forest regained its tranquility, Xiao Jingran and his group left in a sorry state. Not long after Xiao Jingran and his group left, the four women who had woken up each had a piece of white silk hanging from a tree branch. This was the fate of the weak. They couldn't resist it all. How could they have the face to continue living after being defiled like this? Only death awaited them. News of Jingyu's battle spread almost instantly. Tokyo's 10,000 elite soldiers were all wiped out in the forest. The description of the Inkchilin was even more shocking. Everyone thought that Jingyu's demonic subordinates were finally getting stronger and stronger. Soon, the infamous Inkchilin in the Roman forest began to spread. In the forest, Jingyu was discussing their next move with everyone. After winning the first battle, the next move was very important. Jingyu, Shangguan Linglan, and a few captains were gathered together to discuss their next move. Nanli intends to attack from the east, so they must avoid the Cebu. What we need to do is to force Nanli into the Cebu camp. Jingyu smiled and said, The Cebu doesn't want to interfere, but I won't let them have their way. Boss, how do you plan to force them? Li Weiming looked up at Jingyu and asked. Pick a few people and follow me to intercept them at the Iron Chain Bridge. We'll drive Nan Li's people over there. Jingyu carefully planned and tried to come up with a few countermeasures. Then, after a unanimous discussion, they finally decided on a plan. Everything was going according to Jingyu's plan. Jingyu led more than 10 people to the Iron Chain Bridge, while Jingyu and Second Xing each led a group of people to set up an ambush along the way, not letting go of any direction. If Nan Li's men tried to run in another direction, they would be chased by the various captains who would force them to go in the direction of the Cebu camp. In the morning, the Iron Chain Bridge was covered in a thick layer of fog. Jingyu and a dozen people squatted on the Iron Chain Bridge in the fog. They sat quietly and sensed the approaching people. This time, the leader of Nan Li's army was Nan Li's crown prince, Mu Qinghua. Speaking of which, Jingyu and the crown prince of Nan Li hadn't met since the last competition. She didn't expect that their second meeting would be under such circumstances. It was very interesting. Boss, they're here. Just as Jingyu was deep in thought, a skinny figure somersaulted briskly and landed beside Jingyu. His eyes lit up as he squinted at Jingyu and said excitedly, "Brother Yi, I'm going to give you a piece of my mind." Chapter 988. Good timing. Everyone get ready. Jingyu suddenly stood up when she heard that. She raised her hand and grabbed the iron chain. With a flip, she went under the iron chain and hung on with her hands and feet. When everyone saw Jingyu's actions, the corners of their mouth curled up and they all imitated her. Jingyu and the others had just hidden themselves when they felt the iron chain bridge shaking. They could vaguely hear voices. As the iron chain bridge shook more and more, the voices became louder. Jingyu's ears twitched and she heard a familiar voice. Mu Qinghua was leading the team personally? The voice came from afar. Jingyu's lips curled up slightly. She didn't expect to catch a big fish. It was actually Mu Qinghua personally leading the team. Jingyu raised her head slightly. As expected, she saw a figure walking past her. The people following Jingyu all looked at Jingyu and waited for Jingyu's orders. Jingyu slowly raised her hand, pulled out the dagger, and bit it in her mouth. She closed her eyes slightly, and her pair of pitch-black eyes turned into a resplendent gold. She lifted her finger slightly, and a cold glint appeared in her eyes. Her body agilely supported the iron chain and suddenly leaped up. The moment Jingyu made her move, the people following Jingyu did the same. In an instant, more than a dozen people jumped onto the iron chain. Before the Nan Li soldiers could react, several lives were taken. There's an ambush. Mu Qinghua probably didn't expect Jingyu and the others to be so arrogant. Dongqing's attack had just ended, but Jingyu and the others were already attacking them without any warning. Mu Qinghua didn't expect Jingyu and the others to be so arrogant. Mu Qinghua immediately saw Jingyu, who was charging into the crowd with a dagger in her hand. Her golden eyes caused Mu Qinghua's pupils to shrink slightly. Strange pupils. She really had strange pupils. Shake it. Jingyu's eyes flashed fiercely as she ordered coldly. The person standing at the side of the iron chain bridge suddenly raised her hand and shook the iron chain. The people standing on it immediately lost their balance. Jingyu and the others were already prepared. They bent down and grabbed the wooden planks under their feet. Then, they suddenly stood up and rushed towards Mu Qinghua. Protect the crown prince. Retreat. On the iron chain bridge, it wasn't a matter of numbers that could win. It was better to have fewer people. Everything was going according to Jingyu's plan. After being chased and obstructed by Jingyu and the others, the Nan Li soldiers retreated to the other side of the iron chain bridge. Jingyu and the others pretended to chase after them step by step. In reality, they were herding the group of people in the direction of Shiwu's encampment like ducks being herded. This way. Nan Li's people originally wanted to run into the forest, but they didn't expect that they would be blocked by another group of people after running for a short distance. After another round of fighting, Mu Qinghua once again led the group to another direction under the strong pursuit of the Black Qilin. Jingyu had killed tens of thousands of Tokyo soldiers. Mu Qinghua didn't dare to be careless and rush forward. If she became the second Tokyo, it wouldn't be fun. Jingyu's plan was right. After rushing in several directions, they all reached the point where Jingyu intercepted them. The last direction was towards the plains outside the forest where the Cebu troops were stationed. Chapter 989. Your Highness, the Cebu's encampment is just ahead, someone reminded Mu Qinghua. Wei Ling wouldn't be so tactless, Mu Qinghua replied coldly. He led a large group of soldiers and charged into the Cebu's encampment. On the hill, Jingyu's group watched Mu Qinghua run towards the Cebu's encampment with a faint smile on their faces. Boss, they've all gone over. Li Weiming and the others turned to Jingyu and said, the show is about to start. Jingyu's lips curled up slightly. She looked down at Mu Qinghua, who was charging towards the Cebu. Her eyes were filled with coldness as she raised her hand to her mouth and blew a whistle. Following the whistle, two strong figures dashed towards Jingyu's group. Injian, Infeng, it's up to you now. Two gray figures dashed towards Jingyu. Jingyu squatted down and patted Injian's and Infeng's heads. Her golden eyes flashed with a cold light. When the two gray wolves heard Jingyu's words, they lowered their heads slightly as if they had received an order. They turned around and dashed into the dense forest. The people riding on the Black Qilin watched this scene with strange expressions. At this moment, the Cebu's encampment was in chaos. The Cebu's crown prince, Wei Ling, had just finished his breakfast when he received a report that Nanli was leading a large group of soldiers to attack the Cebu's side. This action caused Wei Ling's expression to change drastically. He suddenly thought of the anonymous message he received last night. Last night, when Wei Ling was sleeping soundly, an arrow was suddenly shot into his tent. There was a note tied to the arrow. It said that Nanli intended to attack the Cebu. It also said that Jingyu was vaguely planning to form an alliance with Nanli originally. Wei Ling thought that Nanli was attacking the Cebu because someone was trying to sow discord. However, the letter also mentioned that Nanli was relying on Nanli. This caused Wei Ling to have to be on guard. If this news was true, then they would be in big trouble. And now, the contents of this news actually came true. Nanli actually had the ability to attack the Cebu. If no one was backing Nanli, they wouldn't dare to do so. Did you see it clearly? In the tent, Wei Ling's expression instantly turned ashen. His pitch-black eyes were extremely cold as he stared at the soldier who came to report. Yes. The soldier lowered his head and nodded. Someone said that they saw the woman with different pupils leading a group of beasts to support Nanli in the outskirts of the forest. Mu Qinghua. When Wei Ling heard this, his mind instantly went blank. His eyes were filled with a sinister light. This woman with different pupils actually allied with Nanli? If that was the case, then it would be extremely troublesome. Your Highness, what should we do now? Nanli's troops have already passed through our defensive line. The soldier lowered his head again and asked Wei Ling, the woman with different pupils has already sided with Nanli. Then, Wei Ling stood up slowly. His pitch-black robe made him look extremely sinister. His furrowed brows were clearly drawn together. If Cebu can't get the woman with different pupils, then naturally, we can't let Nanli have her. A strong murderous intent flashed across Wei Ling's eyes. He said coldly, inform the entire army to attack. Chapter 990. Yes. The messenger bowed and acknowledged the order, then turned and walked out of the tent. In an instant, the order to kill was issued. The originally peaceful Shiwu garrison immediately launched a series of encirclement and killing orders. Everyone was on the move. The Cebu's actions were so fast that Mu Qinghua was still sighing. They had charged past the Cebu's defensive line, and the Cebu hadn't made a move yet. It was obvious that they wouldn't attack him. However, he didn't expect that they would be surrounded the moment they charged into the defensive line. "What are you doing? We don't mean any harm. Let your crown prince come out and see me." Mu Qinghua suddenly reined in his horse and glared at the Cebu general who had surrounded them. "You brought fully armed elite troops into our Cebu's camp, and you still dare to say such words. Isn't Crown Prince Mu looking down on our Cebu too much?" The Cebu general who led the troops said coldly. "We were ambushed by the Empress with different pupils." Mu Qinghua seemed to be angered by the Cebu general, but he had to explain himself. "Ha ha ha. Crown Prince Mu really knows how to find excuses." The Cebu general was slightly taken aback when he heard Mu Qinghua's words. Then, he laughed loudly and pointed his sword at the hill. He said coldly, "Do you think our Cebu soldiers are easy to bully? The Empress with different pupils led a group of beasts to ambush us on the hill. Only when you got close to the Cebu's camp did you attack from the inside. Crown Prince Mu, do you really think our Cebu doesn't know anything?" The general shouted coldly, This crown prince won't lower himself to your level. Go and call Wei Ling out." Mu Qinghua's face was ashen as he glared at the general and shouted, "Humph, do you think our crown prince is someone you can meet just because you want to?" The general snorted and raised his hand. "Take him down." The Cebu people didn't give Mu Qinghua and the others a chance to speak and immediately surrounded them. The Nanli people retreated step by step and wanted to say something to stop them. However, the Cebu soldiers were ruthless. His Highness the Crown Prince had ordered them to kill. Naturally, they obeyed. Damn it! Mu Qinghua tried to defend herself. When she saw Cebu's reaction, she knew that she was being too rash. However, she didn't expect Wei Ling to be so insensible. Now, they were in a dilemma. "Your Highness, what do we do now?" the person beside him asked. "Since Cebu is not going to show us any mercy, then there's no need for us to retreat. Kill." Mu Qinghua looked at the Cebu soldiers who were getting closer and closer. His eyes flashed with anger as he waved his sword and said coldly. In the blink of an eye, the Cebu and Nanli troops were engaged in a fierce battle on the plains. Jingyu, who was standing on the hill, finally smiled in satisfaction when she saw this scene. Everything was going according to plan. Oh well. While the Cebu and Nanli were locked in a fierce battle, more and more people died. Suddenly, a loud and clear wolf howl sounded in the empty forest. After a few seconds, another wolf howl sounded. On the high ground of the plains, the body of a gray wolf slowly walked out. Then, one wolf after another slowly walked out from behind the gray wolf. The sudden appearance of a pack of wolves on the plains caused the two sides to instantly stop fighting. Chapter 991. What's going on? Everyone stopped what they were doing and looked towards the high hill. Seeing the increasing number of wolves, everyone's expression changed uneasily. Wei Ling stood outside the tent and looked at the wolves. His heart suddenly tightened. Is it the smell of blood that attracted the wolves? The general at the side looked at the increasing number of wolves, and his expression turned ugly. No. Wei Ling stood with his hands behind his back and looked at the scenery on the hill. His expression gradually turned serious. She summoned them. Just as Wei Ling finished speaking, two huge gray wolves slowly appeared on the hill. On the back of one of the gray wolves, a petite figure sat steadily on the back of the gray wolf. That pair of golden eyes was so dazzling under the scorching sun. That seductive face was clearly calm, but for some reason, when one looked at those eyes, it gave off a breathtaking feeling. Obviously, the person sitting on the gray wolf's back was Jingyu. Ah, what a spectacular sight. Jingyu raised her hand and patted the head of Silver Arrow. Her lips curled into a faint smile, and she narrowed her eyes to look at the situation below. Even from so far away, Jing, you could smell the smell of blood from the opposite camp. You guys must have been hungry for a long time, right? Jing Yu turned her eyes and looked at the wolves that were snorting beside her. She smiled and said, "Today, I'll let you guys have a good meal. Don't be shy. Eat as much as you want." Oh, whoa. At the side, Silverwind raised his head and let out a clear howl. When the howl fell, the wolf pack, which had been grinding their claws and teeth, could no longer hold back and charged straight towards the western martial great camp. Damn it! Intense anger appeared on Mu Qinghua's face. In the previous battle, they had suffered countless casualties. If Cebu didn't make a move, they wouldn't be in such a sorry state right now. However, the wolves suddenly appeared when both sides suffered countless casualties. Wei Ling wasn't a fool. He naturally thought of the reason behind this. This series of events was so coincidental. "Everyone, stop." Mu Qinghua clenched the long sword in his hand tightly. He looked at Wei Ling, who was walking towards him from afar, and the coldness on his face became even more intense. "Wei Ling, now you know whether I'm telling the truth or not, right?" Mu Qinghua's pair of cold eyes looked straight at Wei Ling. The ridicule and anger in his words were so obvious that Mu Qinghua's face turned a little ugly. "I was tricked." Wei Ling took a deep breath and said, "When I received the secret letter yesterday, I should have thought of it, but I didn't think that Jing Yu would be so good at capturing people's hearts. She actually set herself up and made me think that Nanli had subdued someone with different pupils." Wei Ling sighed deeply. His pair of cold eyes looked around at the blood and corpses on the ground. There were soldiers from Nanli and Cebu. Secret letter? Mu Qinghua's face changed slightly. Then, he seemed to have thought of something and his face turned ashen. No wonder he was wondering why Wei Ling was so insensible to suddenly make a move instead of watching from the sidelines. You're tuning in to the Romance Rendezvous YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.